Okay, so we're trying out a whole new backdrop, space, and way of creating today because me showing up here on YouTube is about more than getting my message out, doing like marketing exercises, trying to grow my reach and my business and all of that. It's really a personal experiment in expanding myself, like opening myself to a whole new creative process. And I wanted to talk about that today as it relates to how I'm seeing the connections that it has with my consumption, which is, after reviewing 2025 and kind of sitting down and looking at what happened last year, what things I want to change, what lessons I've learned, and just who I want to be in 2026. I recognize that my relationship to consuming has a big role to play. I was journaling about that this morning, and one of the things that I came to after sort of unpacking just sort of where I'm at right now, which I'll talk to you about because I'm doing a no-buy challenge, and I'll talk to you about how that has been playing out for me. But yeah, reflecting on how I have come to, I think, my relationship to consumption. And even one of the things that I love to do on YouTube is to watch style creators. There's a few women on here that I love to watch a lot. Carolyn Gray is one of my favorites. Monroe Steele. I love these girls. Janae Taylor's another one. But I think one of the things that I enjoy most about watching them, when I think about subconsciously what is happening for me, is that it's not just about like outfit inspo. What I have enjoyed most is witnessing another human, but Black woman, be in their authentic expression creatively. And this is just, I've just mentioned like the top three that I probably consume the most of on here. The Shire from politics and fashion as well. But they each have their own distinct styles. And I think where I appreciate them the most is not when they're doing anything regarding like trends that they're following, or when I can just tell that like the way that they have been building their wardrobes or their outfits is so unique to them. It's like it's driven from their specific perspective on aesthetics and taste and textures and political statements that they do or do not want to make, or just vibes, and that like they have a distinct profile of what they love. And I see like their inner artistry through their clothing, the pieces that they choose to put on their body and they wear out into the world. And so personal style has been something that like I have grappled with, I think, my entire adult woman life. I think living in a society where so much pressure is put on women to appear in ways that are pleasing, specifically to the male gaze, but just pleasing in various environments, feeling like you have to have the right look, the right outfit for every occasion in order to be treated, in some instances humanely, but with dignity or respect, or just to get any kind of attention, and whether that's male attention or professional attention. Like there's research on this, that things like women who wear makeup, they have higher chances of getting ahead professionally. They have higher chances of then obviously being paid more. This is tied to our survival and our thriving. And so anyway, this is like such a layered and complex area of life. And I think that where I've gotten confused as I've been trying to decide, like through the years, like what is my style? And, I'm just trying out trends, especially living in New York. I started out my career in New York City for the first 10 years out of college. That's where I lived. That's where I cut my teeth, but not even just like professionally, really where I got exposure to the world. And New York is the place to do it. It's an extremely global city. It's obviously the site of a lot of industry, global industry. But I think that intersection between arts and fashion and finance, and that interplay between like money and aesthetics, money and culture, money and art, it's an interesting place to be at when you're in your 20s. And especially coming from where I come from, I'm from a very small town in the Midwest. I got, exposed to things that I had not before. Like, I think there's a lot of creators right now on the internet talking about wealth codes, but yeah, like the coding, the unspoken knowing, the quiet languages of aesthetics and what that is meant to communicate about one's standing in life or one's financial ownership or just capability, capacity to exert power over the world. And I feel like that, especially like from a finance context, that's kind of like the vibe. Power and dominance expressed through what kind of clothing choices you wear and really the kind of restraint and like how constrained you can be. So I'm operating in these spaces because I did work in the back office for financial firms for a number of years, and having to figure out the uniform and understand some of the unspoken rules and which rules I cared to follow and which rules I was like, I can't dress that way and feel in any semblance of myself, but still needing to follow so many different rules. And then wanting to have a more creative expression for how I dressed outside of work and with my artsy friends. I had a number of friends who worked in fashion and the arts. And anyway, I think in that experience, it was just a lot of exposure and me trying to figure out like, well, which group do I belong to and how do I merge the two? I just felt like very fragmented, and also like, and where am I in all this? What is it that I actually like? And I don't know. So anyway, as I was journaling today, I was kind of getting at that question. And, one of the things that I think a lot about is like what influences my decisions to consume. And specific in the realm of fashion, because that is one of my no-buy categories for 2026. I'm currently on a no-buy through March, and we'll see how long it goes after that. But I just want to like sort of check in with myself at that point and see what I want to do. But buying clothes is in that bucket. And as I think about where my influences have come from and what I'm desiring to get away from, which is really just this full-on capitalist agenda to make sure that I feel anxiety around being left out of trends, which means I'm maybe left out of social standing and being seen and being validated and belonging. Like these are the triggers, the emotional triggers, the wounds that marketing from different areas, retailers are pulling on to get us to buy. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to pull away from that. Like what is my actual source material? Like what is the raw Monique? What does she really want to consume? If I want my consumption decisions to be driven by something more intrinsic and thoughtful and not in excess, like how do you even define that? And I see so many creators who like have, whether it is closets like stacked full of clothes and then storage units with more and backup clothes for the backup clothes, and then still mentioning that they care about sustainability and we have to be mindful about consumption. And it's like, well, what does that exactly mean to you? Like, what is enough? And I don't know that everybody has to necessarily have the same definition because we all have different values and lifestyles, but I'm trying to figure that out for myself. And I don't really see examples of that on the internet, or even people really talking through their own psychology of like where they believe their definitions of enough are, or where they get their sense of style and taste and how it connects to their actual lived values, and how it connects to their lineage, which I think is really important for me. Because in this reflection period, I've thought a lot about my grandmothers, in particular my paternal grandmother, because she was my fancy grandma. She is. My grandmother is 103. She just turned 103. Oh, forgive me. It's either 102, 103 this year, which is wild. But in her younger years, when we used to go visit her house, and mind you, this is my dad's mother. He grew up in a very working class Black neighborhood, and which has now become like an inner city neighborhood, which is now actually beginning to finally be gentrified, like they all are, unfortunately, how that whole cycle goes. But you can imagine in this working class, by the time I'm coming up to really visit and have real memories, it's like the 90s, the neighborhood is in meaningful decline. But when you walk into my grandmother's house, honey, you could not tell me that lady wasn't rich. And it was her and my grandfather in the house. She made that home, okay? It was decorated to the hilt. Golden sconces and, crystal light fixtures and lamps. She had this like very 70s, like floral print sofas. The carpet, wall to wall carpet, not a rug, carpet wall to wall was this it's one of my favorite colors to this day. It was this beautiful, almost, what's the right word? It's not chartreuse. It's like, I get like maybe a brighter olive green, wall to wall, lush, honey. Okay. Just all the beautiful things, all these trappings and all of the decorum of a very fancy household. And I didn't know any better as a child. I mean, this is just the fanciest person in my family, in my opinion, in terms of how she kept her home, how she decorated things, how there was such care in the placement of things. And I know it has driven so much of my taste, because I was like, oh, this is beautiful. This is fancy. This is rich. And one of the things that I noted this morning as I was journaling about this whole consumption thing and my inner sort of intuitive draw to like what it is that I love, what am I actually connected to and drawn to, and why, I thought about her jewelry. So she had in her bedroom her vanity, and I wasn't always allowed to like just be playing in her bedroom, but as I got older, she would let me go and just sit at her vanity, and she would have her perfumes and her jewelry box. She had like these like glossy wooden, she had at least one, maybe there were two, but at least like one like really nice jewelry box and this like glass vanity tray. And on that vanity tray, there would often be some of her jewelry pieces, and like especially these rings. And she would have these, and who knows, I don't know if those are real gemstones or even where many of those rings are at this point, but she had like emerald cut jewelry. And I always thought that was just so sumptuous and regal and womanly. This was like part of my early formative relationship to what I thought womanhood looked like and what was beautiful. And even when now I'm looking at my wedding ring and the emerald cut stone that I have, I know that was in some ways driven from my grandmother's vanity, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm seeing at least some specific ties to like things that I'm drawn to. And even to like anything, I love a big chunky jewel. When they have had there was a trend with these like denim with jewel encrusted thing. Like I have to keep myself from buying them because it's like, girl, where are you wearing all that? But there are little pieces and things that I have or that my eye is just drawn to that have that same element. And it just signals like a different level of gorgeousness, and like that it's just so pretty to me. So anyway, yeah, my husband, when he sent, a friend covertly to find out what kind of, diamond cut that I like, and I was like, immediately I knew emerald. I didn't know anything about diamond rings. I was not the one, this is like a side quest. I was not the kind of girl who grew up dreaming of her wedding and like knowing my dress will look like this and we'll have these kinds of flowers and my bouquet will be this or that. I had not thought about those things. And I also just knew nothing about fine jewelry or diamonds or anything like that. Like I said, like they were big chunky costume jewelry rings. All the women in my family, I don't come from money. So when we had jewelry around, it was usually just costume jewelry. So I knew it would look cute. Okay. But I didn't know what the stuff was called. We didn't go to jewelers, and talk about these things. So anyway, I was thinking about that. And then I'm always trying to get to this, I have this anthropological draw sometimes where I'm looking for clarity in my life. I'm like, where do things originate? If I can get to like the source, then I can draw some conclusions. It makes me feel like I'm standing on solid ground. And I landed on that and I was like, but my grandmother was marketed too. And I was like, I don't know what shaped her. And the other women, in her cohort coming up, I'm like, is there no escape of this like capitalist agenda? Like, do we not actually know what we want at all? And I'm also really careful to not, like in this discussion of beauty and aesthetics, design, fashion, to like create a hierarchy of like what actually matters in life and what doesn't, because beauty, I know, matters. Art matters. And not just art that is explicitly political and is trying to make like a very direct statement about society or anything like that. Like I think just human creations matter. And yeah, I want to hold honoring in that. Like, I don't think that fashion is frivolous. I don't think that beautiful things are frivolous, but I just think that the rate of consumption that we are all trapped in and who gets to benefit the most from that, not being the people, the masses, being the very, very few at the top, that there's a problem there that needs to be examined, that needs to be addressed. And in that examination, I just want to know, like, what am I in an active posture, taking ownership over my decisions as opposed to being led around and, like I said, yanked by all of my emotions, because companies have gotten really, really good at marketing and knowing how to get people to buy things. So anyway, y'all, this was kind of a little rambly one. Again, I am like, the whole point of this video is to be, I have literally no notes, like no notes. I typically come into these videos so far in this experiment on YouTube with at least a little bit of an outline. Like it's like crazy scratch paper, jotting down some bullet points or things like that. But I was like, let me get out of my office, sit somewhere new, get a little cozy on the floor. I'm just sitting here in my socks. Literally, I was going to use my, my microphone, but I couldn't get it to work with I'm recording on my iPhone this time. Usually I'm using my webcam, and I like propped it up on my son's Tonka truck. So I'm just trying to be in the moment and try to be here and really relate to anybody else who is sitting with these same questions of the how and the why, and trying to connect more with establishing for themselves your own how or why as it relates to consumption, which connects to creation. And so, because what I believe, I guess, to round out the point that I'm making here, is that if we don't know what is driving what we want, meaning like I don't feel connected or clear about my desires, where they're coming from, why they're here, how I want to act on them. If I don't feel clear and, I guess, sovereign in that relationship to my desires, it's not like this is just yet another corporate implant. I've been inceptioned yet again by the marketing powers that be. Then what I create is weird. It is also, I think, shaped and tainted by that lack of self-knowing, by that lack of connection. Because my consumption teaches me, I think, a lot about my taste, and my taste is what drives my artistry. So even showing up here, and I'm not fine artist. I am not an artist in any like official regard in that way, but I consider us all to be creators. We are all able to create, and I think that's a huge part of the purpose of our lives. All of us is to create in some form of fashion. And I just recognizing that as I'm showing up publicly and creating in this way, and really just, again, experimenting through looking at a lens and talking to YouTube with this new sort of muscle I'm trying to flex around creativity. I want to know who I am as a creator. I want to feel clear on that. And yeah, my questions around consumption and who I am as a consumer there's just this interplay. And I don't think I have any answers today for myself or for you, but I do feel like it's helpful for me just to kind of open up the conversation, and because I am such a verbal processor, to begin to work through it out loud imperfectly and to see what comes of it. So one of the last things I did say that I was going to do in this video is actually share what my no buy challenge is. And I will go through that really quickly right now. So as an executive coach to women, and as someone who's obviously then very into personal development and understanding what it takes for us to feel in our own sense of like agency and direction, and like not also losing our sense of well-being in the process of trying to achieve. In all of that, I recognize like, okay, I need to give myself a break, because it's hard to see who you are as a consumer if you were still in the midst of doing all the consumption. And I think that I've seen also all over the internet, and I think it's mostly driven by economic uncertainty, economic changes that are absolutely happening, people getting laid off, and a lot of, we'll just say, tumultuousness right now, where it's just like, I'm not shopping because either it's not worth it because the prices are so damn high, or it's not accessible because the prices are too damn high. So meaning like I either am not shopping because I don't believe in it in the state that it is in right now, or because I can't. Like, it is cost prohibitive for me to be in these streets the way I was maybe in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years and or prior. And things are looking a little different. So this whole like no buy movement that is happening all over the place. I think a lot of people are not just tightening their belts. I think that people are taking big swings this year, which I think makes a lot of sense. So I am doing that as well. But again, it's also very much driven from this place of me trying to feel a sense of agency and a relationship to myself that I feel good about, that I feel clear about, that I'm also demonstrating for my children, the kind of values that I want to embody and model for them. And so my no-buy challenge, that is, I guess, the why, and the how is, as an executive coach, we're at the point that I was trying to make before. I always encourage the women that I work with to stop doing things alone, to stop doing things in isolation. And because I know how that has revolutionized my ability to create change in my life, to take risks, to do new things, to develop new habits. In particular, I need a partnership. I need community around me. I don't like to feel alone in the journeys that I take. I fully embrace what a social animal I am. And I partner with a girlfriend. We were in the group chat and I was like, I'm trying to do this thing this year. She was like, oh, tell me more about that. I'm like, you down? You want to be in it? She was like, let's do it. So we're doing it together. And this is a girlfriend who lives on the other side of the country, basically. But we have a weekly check-in just via text saying basically we made it another week. And I think we are on week 7 right now of our no-buy. And each of us in the last week, if, just in full transparency, because we're not perfect here, but each of us has slipped up one time. She made a clothing purchase that she was like, I know, I'm just like, I was up late, and the internet got me. It was something I had been looking at last year before we started the challenge, and it just got me. It was so random. I shouldn't have been inside the store is the problem. I went there for something that was for the household, a sanctioned purchase, because we just needed a bin to store some of our Christmas lights for outdoor lights that we didn't have last year. So I didn't have a bin for them to store them. And I picked up this little headphone stand because I got over-the-ear headphones at the end of the year last year because I wanted to have an alternative to the in-ear ones. And I just hate how they're just like hanging around. And it was something I meant to get last year, but I just never got around to it. Or I did look at stuff, but I was like, I'm not paying like $80 for a little hook to hang my headphones on. But I also believe in things being aesthetically pleasing. I need that aesthetic. So I was also like, I don't want something just ugly. So I'm like, I guess I'm just going to wait. And I happened to find something that I found both aesthetically pleasing, functional, like looks good and is sturdy. It was for $12. It was only $12. So I snatched it up real quick. And it's fine. The way we're working it is basically, at least this is the new rule, since it's the first time that both of us have messed up with our, or I should say we haven't messed up, but we had a breach. We had a minor breach, which is the reason it's called a challenge. Is like, it's challenging. You're not gonna be perfect at it. And that whole point is to stay with it. If you fall down, you get back up. So the way that we are getting ourselves back up is we also in this challenge opened up our individual high yield savings accounts. We have been meaning to open up for however long. And so I spent $12 on those headphones. My penance is to put $50 into my high yield savings account because it was like, girl, you weren't supposed to buy that. So I'm going to pay myself back and be back on track so I can feel good about it, learn the lesson from my, little mishap and keep it moving. So the categories of my no-buy spend are clothing. So I'm not allowed to buy any new clothes for myself. Fun stuff for my kids. So they're little, they're constantly growing. I got to get them new shoes because their little feet be busting out of shoes every 5 minutes. I've got to get them, new clothes when the summertime hits and they can't fit their clothes from last summer. Those kinds of things are fun. But I love creating childlike magic and play for them. I set up their play kitchen for each season. It's like my joy. I love it. It's where I create just little fun moments of joy. But I can get caught up, the marketing gets me every time. They know what they're doing. And I like to buy a high quality toy. Sometimes I buy secondhand, but I know my brand. So I'm always looking for little deals and things like that. A lot of the best toys don't even come from the States, which is probably not surprising, but things that I get from other countries, Eastern European countries, Nordic places. Australia makes really great toys, some stuff from Canada sometimes. But anyway, so things like that, I'll spend a little too much maybe. Or I should say, I just don't tend to work within a budget is what happens. So I just be buying based off of my emotions and my desire to create childhood magic. And it gives me a sense of control in this wild and cruel world sometimes, just to let me just make something cute and playful for my kids. So that's my second bucket. And my third bucket is home organization, which was why my little hook for my headphones was a no-no. Because if I had just a blank check to spend on optimizing my home, it would be on creating like home organizational systems for every drawer, closet, every crevice of this house. And it's not necessary, because part of the issue is overconsumption in areas like my kids' stuff, like playthings and stuff, or clothing, is what causes me to also then now feel like I need to organize it all. It's like, well, maybe we just have less stuff. Okay. My last category is, it's like a 3B, you know, it's not really a huge deal for me spending wise, but it's just makeup, hair care, toiletries, like cosmetics and things like that. I'm not a huge spender in those areas. I like what I like. I tend to just, my historical pattern has been, I basically buy any of the makeup or skincare. Skincare has gotten me especially since I got into my late 30s. But I tend to just buy twice a year at the Sephora sale. I get everything I need, and I'm like a VIB rouge at this point, and then that's it. I get my little 20% off, I get what I need, and that's it. I don't usually buy, I'm not like scouring the aisles looking for little things throughout the year. I don't wear a ton of makeup. I put makeup on for these videos on YouTube because it makes me feel, you know, a little more put together and camera ready. But day to day, and it's not that serious. But I can't get caught up in like the latest like hair thing or skin thing, or, you know. So anyway, those are my categories, and how we're working this is we're going through March. Did we say March 1st? Yes. We started actually at the beginning of December. So I think it was like maybe December 4th or 5th or something like that. Because I was like, let's start prior to the holidays. So one of the things you'll notice on my no-buy, that's not on my no-buy list, is gifts. So I could still buy gifts for folks, even though I was done with maybe 90% of my Christmas shopping by the time we started this challenge. The whole point is to give me some distance from consuming, a breather to renegotiate my relationship, and to begin to re-enter with a new perspective and just like an emotional reset around it. Because I think when you're just in it and you just keep going, yeah, it's hard to like shift behaviors. I do a lot better with like a cold turkey cut, you know, like we just not doing this, and let's like give ourselves a moment to breathe and think. And as I was looking to some sort of generalized guidance, because like at some point I'm going to buy a new outfit for a thing, or need to replace the boots that got worn down. For instance, I had these Zara pumps, these black Zara pumps, classic black pump, perfect little height. I've had them things probably for like 15 years, 12, 15 years now. These are Zara. Were they real leather? Probably not. They disintegrated. The day came last year when I was trying to bring them to a conference store with an outfit, and I was like, girl, these are literally turning to powder on the inside. It was just like the whatever the fake leather, it was starting to peel off. I was like, well, look, they lasted a good long while, but I don't have like a classic black pump, which one of my goals with my work is to do more speaking engagements and things like that. And as a part of some of the organizations and things that my husband belongs to, we have like fancy events. So it's like, you know, there's no rush, but when a time comes and I want to buy a black pump, I want to have space to buy it, you know, that it's like on my list of things. Those are the kinds of things I want to make space for. And so I look to the guidance. I'm like, okay, well, overconsumption today looks like what? Well, the average consumer today in America, and when I say today, I think this was some study that was done maybe like 2023, 2024, sometime in the 2020s, okay? Modern day. We're buying on average, this is just the average, it's not even on the high end, 64 pieces of clothing a year. That, depending on who you are, that may sound like, okay, yeah. Or it may sound like, clutch my pearls, that is insane. I thought that's quite a high number. And I was like, how is he buying that many pieces of clothing a year? Now, I don't know I'm assuming the study also accounted for things like socks, underwear. So, you know, if you have to replace a bunch of underwear and socks and things like that, I can see how that number goes up pretty quickly. But people are not necessarily, I mean, I know I don't replace my socks every single year. But I think it's more things like Shein, right? Fast fashion has come in a real way. And so we just buy disposable clothing that really just does not last. It's super duper trendy. It is made to simply make us feel like we are a part of something, that we are supposed to, that we matter because we've kept up with the trend. And then we discard it because the whole point of a trend is to come and to go. And or because the fabric can't handle more than 1 or 2 washes before it craps out. So you can see how we got there. And then I was like, okay, well, I was born in the early 80s. What were people consuming back then? I was thinking back to my childhood. I'm like, I know I would have like my favorite pair of shoes. I feel like at any given time I might own a pair of like sneakers, maybe like a little dress shoe that I wear for like fancy occasion, a sandal, And when I got into athletics, or like obviously when I went to dance class, I had like tap shoes and ballet shoes, but it was like I might have like 3 pairs of shoes at a time, something like that. And that was it. And that was great, because I know there were kids who didn't even have that, right? And so anyway, I was like, well, what was the average consumer bringing into their household for clothing then? And I looked it up, and there was some study that said it was about, on average, more like 12 items of clothing a year. So it was like about 1 piece per month. And I was like, that is so doable, and probably even more than what anybody needs in a given year. But it creates space for like replacing a thing, or something special kind of coming up, or I think it's just enough, or just, you want, maybe there is a trend that really has been speaking to you and it's come back around so that you can take advantage of, a specific color or texture that you already love, and there's more of it in the store, so you can go ahead and get a couple of things that really make sense. But I think on average, 1 piece a month feels like a great goal to reach for. So the 12 items per year is what I'm targeting as potentially how I want to move out of this complete no-buy and into a consumption pattern. And now you know why, because I talked all about it at the beginning of this video. So most of the topics that I'm going to be sharing about on this, I was going to say podcast, I'm not on my podcast, but I do have a podcast called Ambition Without Compromise, if you want to check it out. But most of the things I'm going to be talking about on this YouTube channel, I think, are going to reflect the things that I do talk about on Ambition Without Compromise, which is in the title, Ambition Without Compromise. And when I say compromise, I mean not self-compromise. I mean not compromising your health, not compromising your sense of agency and dignity, not compromising your connection, your relationships, your ability to spend time with the people that you love, to protect the things that matter most to you in life. That there are ways, and I see it all of the time, that we can experience way more of that than we are in our lives and careers, and still make incredible money. And so exploring questions around enoughness or consumption as it relates to our notions of success, right? Because even feeling like that you belong, or that you're beautiful, or that you're worthy in some sense, and that being a driving factor in things like your clothing decisions, connects very much to the positions that you should not have accepted, or that you should never have applied for in the first place, the client you should have never taken on, the work schedule that you have attached your self-worth and your identity to for the pursuit of success, the way that you are defining ambition. All of this stuff is connected. And so I thought that I would go ahead and share this personal journey here on YouTube, which is a little bit different than what I typically share on my podcast, which is a lot more topical, like in terms of how you are leading through life and work. Here's a little more behind the scenes, I think, as well. So anywho, I hope that you have enjoyed this. And if I didn't say anything in the beginning of this video, my name is Monique R. Shields, and I am an executive coach to incredibly high-powered women. And I'm on a creative journey, and I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for rocking with me. My videos tend to be, at least at this point, a little bit longer, but I'm here 5 days a week. My posting schedule is Wednesdays through Sundays. I figured the second half of the week through the weekend is probably the time people are watching more YouTube videos. And I think about especially like very busy professionals, the kinds of women who tend to connect with my message. That's what I'm testing out. So for the next 30 days, it's going to be 30 episodes. This is a sprint that I'm doing, and we'll see. I might keep this up because I'm enjoying it, but I'm trying to express this new part of myself, connect with this new inner creator. And I hope that it inspires you to find the ways that you want to connect and express yourself as well, and find what feels honest and truthful and good to you in this season of life. All right, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow.